It's been a little while since I've done a pickups video, and there's a pretty good reason for that. During the summer, I tend to be pretty inactive when it comes to adding games to my library, mostly because being a teacher during the summer, I'm not working, so I'm not making as much money as I would during the school year. Plus, I'm just not doing a lot of game hunting during the summer. I'm doing a lot of chilling out. But thanks to attending a convention recently and also going to a buy-sell trade event, which was just last night, I do have some things that I want to share, and I have a lot, so I'm going to try and run through this as quick as I can, but I'm cautioning you now, this video may run a little long. First of all, I went to ConnectiCon, which was held at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. I did that last weekend, which was the 14th, 15th, 16th, somewhere around there. And I picked up some things that I can show you. The first thing I want to show is this guy right here, and I'll put it in front of the camera. This is Darius Twin, which is a shooter from Taito. I know a little bit about the Darius series, mostly because I saw these games covered on GameSack, but I've also played like G Darius and a couple of other games in the series as well. But I've always wanted to get this for the Super. I've never owned it. A friend of mine owned it back in the early 90s, but I never did. So when I saw this and I had a decent price on it, I grabbed it. More cartridges. I have this right here. This is Defender 2. There we go. A regular NES game. It's a conversion of Stargate, of course, which the name got changed. I'm terrible at Defender and Stargate, but the price was right on this, and I don't own it, so I figured I would go ahead and grab it. I wanted to get this for a while, though, and I really hadn't. I don't know why I didn't, but I finally do own it. This is The Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants, also an NES game, a game that I rented but I never owned, and I finally own this. My memories of this game, aside from renting it when it was new, watching James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, talking about the Simpsons games. It makes me laugh just thinking about it. It's funny how sometimes when you watch videos, whether it's Angry Video Game Nerd, GameSack, Pat the NES Punk, any number of different talents, they talk about games and they just get brought to the forefront of your mind, and you realize that these are games you want to own, and that's really what happened in this instance. One more NES game to show, and I picked this up. I didn't realize I didn't own it until now. This is Dragon Spirit, the New Legend, which is a conversion of an arcade game from Namco that Bandai did. I don't know why I don't own this. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. In terms of the arcade version, I really don't have an excuse to not own this. I owned it a long time ago when I had first started NES collecting back in like 1998, 99. And then when I sold all of my NES stuff the first time around, because I'm a stupid head, but also I was selling it off so I could afford a Dreamcast. But I had it back then, but it's nice to have it now. So that was kind of cool. Oh, is that the right way? It's this way. There we go. So those are cartridge-based games. I did find a couple of disc-based games, so we're continuing to bump up the PlayStation count a little bit. This is Brahma Force, the Assault on Belt Logger 9. This is a game that was developed by Genki and published by Jaleco. Now, the way that I know that duo is from Tokyo Highway Battle, a game that I rave about, mostly for the soundtrack, but also the game is fun to play. It has a little more depth to it than Ridge Racer does. It relies on drifting a lot. But this I've never played. I saw it, and when I looked on the back of the case, and I saw Jaleco and Genki, you can see them down the bottom there. It was something that I was fascinated with. I still haven't gotten around to playing it, but I certainly intend to do so. This game looks like it's from 97, so one of my favorite years in console gaming. Go figure. I also picked this up on a lark. This is Shooter Starfighter Sanvane, a game that I saw, but I've never really picked up or played. The screenshots on the back here really don't do it much justice. I really don't know a lot about it. All it says here is 3D space action where it's you against a clock. Okay, I'm willing to go ahead and try it. It was $5, and it was complete, and the disc is in good shape, so why not? Two more. I'm going to save the heavy hitter for last. This is Rocky for the GameCube. I have Rocky for the PS2, but the thing with Rocky, and again, going back to James Rolfe and the Angry Video Game Nerd, James and Mike Matei played Rocky on the PS2 as part of their James and Mike Monday series. And the thing that always sticks out to me is one of the episodes that I put on repeat that I play whenever I need a laugh, because James plays as Mickey towards the end. Mickey, of course, being Burgess Meredith's character, old man, going against Rocky in his prime. And it should really not be a fair fight, and it isn't. And it's funny to hear James complain about how easy the guy goes down, and then Mike continues to talk to him about how he's not going to get up because he's dead. Mickey's an old man. He's not going to get up, dude. It's a funny video. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. So now I have this on 2 systems. And then the last game that I want to show, and this is really the heavy hitter from that show, this here is Valis 3 for the Genesis. And it is a complete Valis 3 as well. This was not inexpensive, but it was not crazy priced. Valis 3 I actually played on the TurboGrafx CD back when that was a thing, back when I owned it. And I'll tell a story about that some other time. I really don't want to break into it in this video. But when I saw this, it was something that I wanted to get. I actually had originally seen it at Comic-Con, and I skipped it then. But I finally just bid on it at ConnectiCon, and I'm glad I did, because it's a pretty cool entry into the library. And I really haven't been collecting a lot of Genesis games of late, but you'll see that's going to change very shortly here. So Valis 3, again, not inexpensive, but definitely a cool addition to my library. All right. So these are done. And I'm going to put these down. Sorry about that. I'm back. All right, now let's talk about tonight's event, which was the ConnGO trade event, which took place at Retro Games Plus in Newington, Connecticut. I've done videos about things that I've picked up at these events before, and I have a whole stack of things that I'm going to show you now that I picked up at the event tonight. I had a pretty good night, I thought. First of all, I want to thank my buddy Sam, who sold me this. This is going to be featured on Unsealed a little bit later on. This is a original Game Boy game, Turn and Burn, the F-14 dogfight simulator. Very hot, according to Nintendo Power. This game is from 1991, so this game now is more than 25 years old, and I don't own it. So it's pretty cool to have a game that not only do I not own, but I get to open up for Unsealed at a later time. So that's going to go in the pile right up there. Sam also hooked me up with Truxton for the Sega Genesis, a game that I did not own. I had a chance to get this at Too Many Games last year, and I let it slip through my fingers. I kicked myself for that. It's been over a year. I saw it again. Sam was actually selling it with the case and the manual. It was going to be about $70-ish or so, and I hesitated. But as it turned out, Sam actually sold the case and the manual to someone who needed it. They had a loose cart, so he set me up with a good deal just for the loose cart, and I want this just to play it. So thank you very much, Sam, again, for giving me the hookup on this. Really, really cool. I can't wait to try it. All right, let's run through some original PlayStation really quick. This is 2002 FIFA World Cup, sports game that I'm sure not many of you are really going to care about, but it's a game I didn't own, so I wanted to go ahead and pick it up. This is a game that I do own. I own it loose, but now I own it complete, and I thought that after doing a little bit of research that the price was acceptable. It was a little bit higher than I wanted to pay, but given the fact that everything's here, I was okay with it. This is Brave Fencer Musashi, a game that came out 20 years ago, believe it or not. And this not only has the original disc in it, which I'll try and show right here. So it has the original disc and the manual, but of importance to me It also has the collector's CD Volume 2 as well. So the fact that this is complete means a lot, and now I can take my loose copy and kind of set it aside. Maybe if someone needs it, I can set up a deal in the future. No one's going to care about this one either but me, but this is Dance Dance Revolution. This is the original game for the PlayStation, a game that I did own some time ago, and I'm talking back in 2000 or whatever it is. No, I don't have a DDR pad, but I'm one of those weirdos that likes to play the game with the controller anyway, just because I like the music in these games. I think that that's pretty cool. So DDR, the original. This is from 2001. What else do we have? Yes. Getting back to my buddy Sam here, he also set me up with Ghost in the Shell, which is complete. I have this also loose, so now I have it complete. This comes from the development team behind Jumping Flash, which Exact is one of my favorite development teams. Jumping Flash and Jumping Flash 2 are two of my favorite PlayStation games. I have played this a little bit as part of the loose copy, and I do like it, but there's a little bit to understand, I think. And now that I have the instruction manual, maybe I'll figure it out. Two more PlayStation games to show off here. Another sports game that only I am probably going to be interested in. This is NBA in the Zone 99. This is one of the few games in the series that I didn't own already. That's Glenn Rice on the cover, by the way. I really don't know a lot about this particular game in the series, except for the fact that I don't own it, and I needed it for my library. So there you go. And one more. This I just took a flyer on. This is Slamscape, which was published by Viacom. It says here that it features the music of God Lives Underwater as seen on MTV. It also talks about the fact that it displays graphics at 60 frames a second. So I'm willing to go ahead and give it a shot. I don't know anything about this game, but I don't have it in my library, so it's always good to add one to the list. All right. Let's shift gears and let's talk about NES again. This is going to be interesting because I have this game loose. I have two copies of this game loose. I have the original and I have the re-release loose, but I never really had it complete until now. This is Blades of Steel by Konami, one of my favorite NES games. As a sports video game fan, this is one you have to have. This is one that you play, that you have memories of. It's really easy to get into, and Konami during the NES era was a force. It was unstoppable. So it's really neat to have this complete in the box. It does have the instruction manual in there. Here's the instruction manual right here. It has a cartridge holder, and it's in good shape as far as I can tell. So now I have 3 copies of Blades of Steel. I probably don't need that many copies, but that's okay. From the makers of Double Dribble, go figure. This I'm super psyched about. This was the last thing that I found for the evening, and the gentleman that sold it to me for a very good deal, at least very fair in my opinion. This is Illusion of Gaia for the Super Nintendo, and this not only comes with the cartridge, but it also comes with the instruction manual and the map too. And that comes in, it looks like this was a pre-owned copy from Electronics Boutique based on the tag there. There's the cartridge on the inside, which I really didn't need because I do have the game already. But getting it complete like this means a lot to me. I have memories of this game. I was living outside of Worcester, Massachusetts. I was visiting a lot with my first serious girlfriend out there. We had memories of playing this game together all the time. This actually came with a T-shirt originally when you bought this brand new back in whatever year this was, 1994. I wore that T-shirt to the ground. It literally disintegrated. There were pieces of it missing where I had to throw the T-shirt away. Had I known that the T-shirt would have been valuable 20 years later, I probably wouldn't have worn it as much, but nonetheless, this is a really cool add to my collection, and I appreciate the seller giving me a really good deal on it. Okay, PS2. This game that I'm going to show you right now is kind of a precursor to an unsealed episode that I'm going to be doing very soon. This is, and I'm going to take this tag off because it doesn't need to be on there now. There we go. This is Bloody Roar 4. Now, I have the first pair of Bloody Roar games for the original PlayStation. Those games are fantastic. Ran at 60 frames a second. Graphically, they stood out. Pretty easy to play. Maybe leaning a little bit toward the casual side where there's a lot of button mashing going on. But I like that. Single player was a little weak and still is a little weak from what I understand in this particular game. So I have Bloody Roar 2, and Bloody Roar 4. And I'm going to feature something on Unsealed very soon. You can probably figure out what game that is, and it is the most expensive Unsealed game that I'll be opening up on camera. We'll be doing that in August. Also picked this up. This is Ratchet & Clank Size Matters. The game does not come with a manual, unfortunately. It's just the disc on the inside. It's the one Ratchet & Clank game for the PS2 that I don't own, and now I do. The disc looks like it's in good shape. It looks like this is a port from a PSP game, so I'll be interested to see how this plays. I also had this, but I only had it game only, so I'm happy to own this. This is Sylphid: The Lost Planet. This game is really cool. I like Sylphid for the Sega CD, and this game is kind of like a reboot of that. It has a lot of the same gameplay characteristics, but it looks a lot better. And of course, this being a Working Designs game, the case or the box art is kind of like iridescent. It kind of reflects in the light, and that's really neat as well. And this has the instruction manual in it, and the manual also has that iridescent cover. Moving right along, because this video is already flying by. I'm at 17 minutes. This is Tales of Legendia, a game that I had contemplated picking up on eBay, but the shipping cost was almost $10, which would have made the game almost $40 to get brand new, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. This wound up being $15 for just the case and the disc, which is on the inside. I played this a little bit when the game came out, and I believe this is 2006, if I'm not mistaken. But what had happened was I bought this game, and then I had a power surge at my house where my PlayStation 2 just got lit up and didn't work. So I wound up selling a lot of my PS2 stuff at that point, which pained me to do. And I had to build up my PS2 library a couple of years, starting a few years later, into what it is now. So Tales of Legendia, I'm looking forward to actually giving this a go in the not too far future. So that's it for PS2. We have just about 3 games to go. We'll try and get this video done in under 20 minutes. Again, my buddy Sam coming through for me with a copy of Ms. Pac-Man for the Genesis. I did not have this. I have not played this for the Genesis, but it does come complete, so that's pretty cool. And being a fan of Namco arcade games, it just makes sense to go ahead and try this. So I'm looking forward to doing that. This is another fairly big ticket item, but when I saw it in the cabinet at Retro Games Plus, it was something that I really wanted to own. If you've watched my videos in the past, or perhaps read my work on RetroWareTV.com, you know about my love affair with the game Outrun. It was a game that helped to teach me how to drive. I own the game in many different formats, but the one format I did not own it on was the Sega Genesis, and now I do. And not only do I have the case for it, but I also have the manual and the game. So I'm really, really excited to have that. It doesn't really matter to me whether the game is substandard in terms of its port quality. It's just a game I've wanted to have for a long time, but never really saw it. So when I saw it in the case, it was something I really, really wanted to get. And last but not least, a game that I own probably way too many copies of, but it's a game that I am a huge fan of. This is the Genesis version of NBA Jam, a game that I'll probably be taking with me to Retro World Expo to hopefully have at least Tim Kitzrow sign, if not Sal DeVita sign. You know my story with NBA Jam. This is the game that I walked out in a snowstorm to my local mall in Chicopee, Massachusetts to get when the game came out. and I played it for hours on end. I still play any version of Jam that I can get my hands on, but the Genesis version, even more so than the Sega CD version, is my favorite version. We have the backboard shattering, we have plenty of Tim Kitzrow voice samples. The game is easy to play. It looks pretty good. It's a fun game to play. Plus, this version has the little hangable tag on there, so I can hang it on my wall when I get it signed. So, 20 minutes in the books. Those are the games that I've picked up for the month of July. It's definitely been pretty busy. I'll be backing off now until I go back to class, and then when Retro World Expo kicks off in the first weekend of September, hopefully I'll pick up a few more things then. As always, thanks for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If anything caught your eye, or if anything that you saw kind of triggers some memories or create some memories, sure, let me know. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Until the next time, my friends, in a new Unsealed episode, which I hope to get done in a few days, see ya.